You're 23 when they tell you your name. Prince_66X will no longer be used. It happens in a windowless room that smells faintly of dust and burnt coffee. A metal table. A recorder placed between you and a man who never introduces himself. He slides a folder across. Inside, a new identity, birthplace, school records, a history that never happened. You repeat the name out loud. Prince. It doesn't sound like yours. It isn't supposed to. For the first 6 months, you're no one. You sit in training facilities where the air is always too cold, set to 18 degrees Celsius to keep you alert. You memorize dialects, routes, religious customs, coded language. You're taught how to disappear into a room, how to be forgettable, replaceable. They strip you down to patterns, break habits, rebuild responses. You learn to lie without pausing, to answer questions with questions, to hold eye contact just long enough. At night, you sleep in a dorm with no personal items, no photos, no mirrors. You stop thinking in your old name. Year 1, you're placed on the edge of the network, not inside, not yet. You run errands, deliver messages you don't read, sit in rooms where conversations stop when you enter. You're tested constantly, but never directly. A missed cue, a wrong phrase, a hesitation that lasts half a second too long. You learn the hierarchy without being told. There's the one who speaks, the ones who enforce, the ones who watch, and people like you, temporary, unproven, expendable. You report back in fragments, every 10 days. A coded message buried inside routine communication, each transmission capped at 240 characters. No emotion, only facts. You're told never to improvise, but you start to understand that survival depends on it. Year 2, they move you closer. You're invited into smaller rooms, trusted with minor logistics, cash transfers, vehicle swaps, nothing that matters until it does. You're given a phone with one contact. It rings once a week. Instructions only. No conversation. Your handler's voice becomes less frequent, then stops entirely for 47 days. During that time, no one checks on you. You realize the first rule they never stated: if you're caught, you don't exist. Promotion doesn't feel like advancement. It feels like exposure. Year 3, they give you responsibility, not authority. You coordinate movements, track schedules, memorize faces of people who will never know yours. You're now inside planning discussions. You notice the system. It's not chaos, it's process. Budgets are tracked, expenses logged. Every operation has a cost, fuel, equipment, time. You see spreadsheets written by hand, columns of numbers, conversions between currencies, payments broken into precise amounts to avoid attention. Nothing is random. There are approvals, delays, internal disagreements, decisions that take weeks, not seconds. It feels less like a network and more like an institution. Structured, predictable, patient. You stop marking time in months. You measure it in operations. In year 4, they test your loyalty without saying it. A task. Small on paper. Deliver a package. No questions. You don't ask. You know better, but you notice the weight of it. The way it's handled. The way people avoid looking directly at it. You complete the task. No one congratulates you. No one acknowledges it. But the next day, your position changes. You're no longer watched the same way. Personal life becomes theoretical. You had a number once. You memorized it. Then you were told to forget it. Birthdays pass without markers. You estimate your age now. You speak to people daily, but never say anything real. Conversations are transactions. Every word measured, every reaction calculated. You begin to think in layers. What you say, what they hear, what they suspect. Silence becomes safer than truth. Year 5, you're inside the core, not at the top, close enough to see it. Decisions are slower here, more deliberate, less emotional than you expected. You notice something else. No one believes in the cause the way you imagine. Not fully. Some do. Most don't. For many, it's structure, power, survival, a system that rewards loyalty and punishes deviation with precision. The ideology is repeated, but the operations follow logic, efficiency over passion. The mission that changes everything doesn't feel different at first. Another meeting, another plan, but this time you understand every part of it. The scale, the timing, the impact. You calculate it without meaning to. Casualties, coverage, response time. You wait for your handler. No contact. 7 days. Nothing. You review the protocols. There's a threshold. If certain criteria are met, you act independently. This meets all of them. For the first time, you're not following instructions. You're interpreting them. You stand in a room where the final decision is made. No one raises their voice. No one hesitates. The plan moves forward because the system says it should. And you realize something quietly. There is no moment where someone decides to cross a line. The line moves, gradually, procedurally, until you're standing somewhere you never intended to reach, and it feels normal. You don't stop the operation, you adjust it. Small changes, timing, location, enough to reduce impact, not enough to expose yourself. It's not heroism, it's calculation. The system absorbs it without noticing. The mission proceeds. The outcome is reported as success. Extraction comes without warning. Year 6, a message, a location, a time window of 12 minutes. You leave with nothing, no objects, no proof you were ever there. Debrief lasts 19 days. Same room, same table, different questions. They reconstruct your decisions, your deviations, your silence. At the end, they slide another folder across. A new assignment, a new name. You hesitate, not visibly, not long enough to register, but long enough to understand something irreversible. You're not returning to a life you left behind. You're moving to another version of this one because the system doesn't end. It reallocates. You decline. There's a process for that. Forms, evaluations, a mandatory observation period, 90 days. You're monitored, assessed, measured for risk. Then gradually you're reduced. Access removed. Clearances downgraded. Contacts erased. You become what you were trained to be at the start. Unremarkable. Years later, you walk through a crowded place. No one recognizes you. You notice patterns without trying. Exits, sightlines, behavior. You still think in layers. You still measure words. The system you left continues. New recruits, new names, same rooms, same temperatures. Somewhere someone is repeating a name that isn't theirs, believing it's temporary, not realizing how permanent it becomes. You don't use your old name, not because you can't, because it no longer fits.
Follow for more.